Hello, everyone. In today's video, we dive into the latest article by Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rasheed. The title is Epstein's Unresolved Shadows: Elusive Masterminds, Alleged Mossad Ties, and Risks to Global Communities. Before we begin, let me introduce the author, Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rasheed, a Saudi businessman, academic, and thought leader. As an adjunct professor at the University of Arizona and advisor, American University of Beirut, Faculty of Food and Agricultural, Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rasheed, founder of Golden Grass, Inc. He brings a rare blend of vision, expertise, and real-world insight to every article he writes. Dr. Al-Rasheed is also a distinguished author. His upcoming book, Saudi Arabia, Transformation, Uncertainty, and Sustainability, explores the kingdom's evolving economic and social landscape amid global change, offering deep insights into development, resilience, and long-term sustainability.
Let's begin.
Okay, let's just dive right in. The date today is February 15th, 2026.
Right.
And if you've been anywhere online for the last, 2 weeks, you know the whole atmosphere has just completely changed.
Completely.
The Epstein Files Transparency Act of 2025, it finally dropped January 30th. We knew it was coming, but I don't think anyone was really ready for the scale of this.
No. Scale is the right word. We're looking at, a deluge. It's 3 million pages of documents.
3 million.
2,000 videos. And something like 180,000 images.
Mm-hmm.
It's what people were demanding, Total transparency. But the reality of it is just so dense.
It's that old saying, right? Be careful what you wish for. Because now that it's here, the reaction I'm seeing everywhere is just paralysis. It's too much.
It is.
You open one file, it points to 3 others, and suddenly you're just lost.
And that paralysis is actually the very first point in the source material we're looking at today.
Huh?
Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rasheed, he has a name for it. He calls it volume over clarity.
Volume over clarity.
Exactly. The idea is kind of counterintuitive. When you drop a haystack that massive on the public, you aren't actually helping them find the needle.
So you're just burying it deeper.
They're burying it deeper under a mountain of noise.
Which makes perfect sense. If everything is breaking news, then nothing is. So our job today is to kind of ignore the haystack and look at the magnet that Dr. Al-Rasheed has put together.
A very powerful magnet.
Yeah. The analysis is titled Epstein's Legacy, Elite Networks, Alleged Intelligence Ties, and Global Damages from Disaster Capitalism.
A heavy title.
It is. So before we really get into the weeds, I want to set some ground rules for you listening.
Yeah.
We are going to navigate these arguments very carefully.
Strictly based on the source.
Strictly. He gets into some incredibly radioactive areas, intelligence agencies, war economies, Israel-Palestine. We're not here to take a side.
No.
We're here to report on how this analysis connects those dots using the files.
Precisely. The goal is to understand the argument, not to, adjudicate the politics.
Yeah.
Because if you strip away all the tabloid stuff, the island, the celebrities, all the things that
Right.
Dr. Al-Rasheed is basically arguing that Epstein wasn't just some predator acting alone. He was a symptom.
A symptom of what?
Of a specific economic and political model, one that benefits a very, very small group of people.
Okay, so let's start there with the thing that never, ever made sense to me, the money.
The money.
For years, the math just didn't add up. You don't become a billionaire or even a mega millionaire by being a consultant.
A financial consultant with, no degree, no public trading record, no real paper trail. It's the multi-million-dollar question.
And the new files, they finally give us a ledger.
They do. Al-Rasheed's analysis points out that when Epstein died in 2019, his estate was valued at nearly $600 million.
Which is just a staggering number. But the data goes back further, right? You don't just appear with $600 million.
Right. So the source breaks down the cash flow through his main companies, Financial Trust and Southern Trust.
Both in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yep. Between 1999 and 2018, those two entities alone generated over $800 million.
$800 million. Okay, wait a minute. In the real world, in hedge funds, you make money on fees, like 2 and 20. But you have to actually manage something.
You do.
Was he just some kind of secret trading genius?
Well, that's the smoking gun the source points to. It wasn't trading, or at least not in any way that explains that kind of money. The source says the income was mainly from client fees and tax exemptions.
Okay, but fees for what? Vague services is the phrase I keep seeing.
And that phrase is doing a lot of heavy lifting. I mean, here's the anomaly. In finance, your fees are tied to something measurable, a deliverable.
Like You made me 10%, so I pay you a fee.
Exactly. With Epstein, the source describes these as just exorbitant sums for services that were never really defined.
And look who is paying. I mean, these aren't unsophisticated people.
No, these are the titans. The
Yeah.
disclosures list Leslie Wexner, Leon Black from Apollo.
Mortimer Zuckerman, Ariane de Rothschild. These are people who know how money works. They don't get swindled.
That's the whole point. You don't accidentally pay someone $100 million for advice.
Not unless that advice is worth way more than money.
And that is the pivot. Dr. Al-Rasheed's analysis says we have to stop looking at this like a normal business deal.
Because it wasn't one.
No.
Huh.
If a service isn't being provided in the market, like stock picking, then the payment is for something else. It implies you're paying a gatekeeper.
Or a fixer.
Or, as the source puts it, you're paying a premium for access to an invisible machine.
Which leads us right into the part that reads like a spy thriller.
The intelligence angle.
Yeah, this has always been the conspiracy theory corner of the story.
Yeah.
But Al-Rasheed just dives right in.
He does. And he's not using rumors. He cites a specific document from the new release, a 2020 FBI memo.
Okay, and what's in it?
Well, in this memo, an informant describes Epstein, and I'm quoting here, as a co-opted Mossad agent.
Whoa, co-opted. That's a very specific word.
It is. It doesn't mean he was a career spy.
No, it implies he was brought in, used as an asset for a purpose.
Right. The analysis details allegations that he even got training under former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and had debriefings with Alan Dershowitz,
And it connects back to Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell.
who has long been suspected of being a Mossad operative himself.
So the theory here is that this was like a family business, a generational asset.
That's the implication drawn in the source material, that the network didn't start with Jeffrey, he inherited it. But, and this is really important, Dr. Al-Rasheed is very clear about presenting the counter-narrative. The source also states that Israeli officials, including Naftali Bennett, have called these claims categorically false.
Well, they would, wouldn't they? I mean, what government is going to issue a press release saying, yep, he was one of ours, our bad?
Of course not. But the skepticism isn't just from officials. Mainstream intelligence analysts have always pointed out there's no smoking gun.
There's no payroll stub from the Mossad with his name on it.
Exactly. It's all informant testimony, circumstantial links, meetings that could have been innocent.
But the court of public opinion, I mean, that ship has sailed. The report has this wild statistic. 45% of Americans believe he was working with foreign intelligence.
And it gets more specific. 27% name Israel. That is almost a third of the country.
Wow.
And this is where Dr. Al-Rasheed pivots the whole conversation. He says that whether Epstein was a spy is almost less important than the effect of everyone believing he was.
You mean it weaponizes the narrative?
It pours gasoline on anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
When you take the horrific acts of this one man, a predator, and you conflate that with the state of Israel or Judaism.
It becomes a tool for hate. You turn a criminal case into a hate campaign.
Right. The source argues it taps into these old, dangerous tropes about global cabals and Jewish control. It endangers Jewish communities everywhere. So Al-Rasheed's point is, look at the damage this ambiguity is causing. It creates a scapegoat.
And it distracts from the actual structural problem.
This is a real thesis.
The economic story, which the source calls disaster capitalism.
This is the core of it. This is the why. Dr. Al-Rasheed argues Epstein wasn't just a predator or just a spy. He was the visible face of an invisible machine.
A machine that runs on this idea of disaster capitalism.
Exactly.
I've heard the term before, but usually for things like hurricanes, right? Companies profiting from the cleanup. But this is about war.
This is about war. The definition in the source is that a small elite, mostly based in Washington and tied to the defense industry, profits from global chaos. Well, we see it as a business opportunity.
We see it as a success of business.
That is an incredibly cynical way to look at the world. You're saying they want things to break. The source argues the numbers don't lie. Just look at the Iraq War, 2003 to 2011.
Okay, I have those figures here. Over 1 million deaths. And the cost, $2 trillion.
$2 trillion. Now, in a normal world, if you spend $2 trillion and the result is a failed state, you'd call that a catastrophic failure. But the money didn't just disappear.
No, it was transferred from taxpayers to contractors like Halliburton.
So the instability itself was the product. The chaos justified the spending.
Or at least there was no financial incentive to stop it.
Look at Afghanistan. 20 years, 2001 to 2021. The source puts the cost at $2.26 trillion.
And 2,400 U.S. lives lost. For what? The Taliban is back in power. We are literally back where we started.
Politically, a total failure. But for what the source calls the permanent war economy, it was a 20-year revenue stream, a sustained market for weapons for private security.
If you're selling the bullets, a 20-year war is a fantastic contract.
It's a fantastic contract.
So where does Epstein fit in all this? He wasn't selling weapons.
No, but the argument is that he operated at the intersection of all these worlds. Intelligence, finance, politics. He was the lubricant for the network.
He brought the right people into the same room?
The politicians, the financiers, the influencers, and the source brings this right up to today with the situation in Gaza.
Yeah, those stats are just awful. Gaza's GDP down 86% since October 2023. Food insecurity at 95%. It's a total humanitarian catastrophe.
It is. But then you flip the coin. The source points to U.S. military aid to Israel, $37 billion over a decade, and how that directly boosts American arms sales. It names companies like Raytheon.
So the argument isn't that Raytheon caused the war.
No, but that the instability ensures a continuous flow of our tax money into their pockets.
So when we see chaos on the news, we see tragedy. This elite network sees a quarterly earnings report.
That is the conclusion. Chaos is a business model. And people like Epstein, who trade in secrets and leverage and access, they're essential to keep that machine oiled.
It even reframes the abuse, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, we see it as just personal sickness, a monster doing monstrous things.
But Al-Rasheed suggests the abuse was also a tool, a binding agent. It creates leverage. It ensures silence. If everyone in the network is compromised, nobody talks. The interpersonal abuse mirrors the geopolitical abuse.
Exploiting the vulnerable for the benefit of the powerful, it's chilling. It makes him sound less like a person and more like a mechanism.
A necessary cog in a very dark machine, a mechanism of decline. And this is where the source takes a fascinating turn. It stops looking at spreadsheets and starts looking at history. Dr. Al-Rasheed brings in Ibn Khaldun.
Wow, okay, that's a deep cut. 14th century sociologist, the whole rise and fall of empires guy.
The very same. Ibn Khaldun had this theory that civilizations go through a cycle. They start with solidarity, everyone working together for the common good.
Then, as they get successful, they move to extravagance.
And if anyone defines extravagance, it's the guy with the private island and the 727 jet.
No kidding.
But the final stage is fragmentation. And the source argues that the U.S., and maybe the West more broadly, is in that late stage now.
We've lost that solidarity.
We're drowning in the extravagance of an elite, represented by this network. And now we're seeing the fragmentation.
And that's not just, political polarization. It's bigger.
It's structural. The source points to how what it calls geopolitical flyover states, places broken by these wars like Iraq or Syria, are just left behind to rot.
And other powers are pivoting.
Exactly. The report mentions Gulf powers shifting focus to Asia, seeing the West as too unstable, too self-interested.
It's a loss of moral standing.
It's the loss of global trust.
Yeah.
Because why would you follow a leader who profits from your destruction?
It is just so much to process. We started with the data dump people thought was just going to be a celebrity cancellation list.
Right.
And we've ended up talking about the moral collapse of Western civilization.
Well, that's what a real deep dive is, isn't it? The connections are there if you're willing to look past the sensationalism.
So let's try to recap this arc, because it's a big one. We started with the files, the 3 million pages.
And the idea of volume over clarity, obscuring as much as revealing.
Which took us to the money, the $800 million for vague services paid by people who should know better.
Which then points to a non-business function, leading to the intelligence allegations, the FBI memo, the Mossad theories.
And the dangerous anti-Semitism that grows out of that ambiguity.
And finally, the why. The whole concept of disaster capitalism. That for a specific network, the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Gaza, they aren't failures.
They're products. With Epstein as the face of that profitable machine,
Exactly.
It really changes how you watch the news. You stop asking, why did this happen? And you start asking, cui bono? Who profited from this?
And that's the uncomfortable truth Dr. Al-Rasheed is pushing us toward. It's not about just one bad guy. It's about the system that needed him.
Which brings me to the final thought I want to leave everyone with. We've seen the numbers. The trillions spent on war. The billions made by contractors. If global instability is this profitable for the elite networks described in these files, if their entire business model depends on things falling apart, what possible incentive do they have to ever let the world be at peace?
That is the ultimate question.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
As we conclude this discussion, we return to the vision expressed by Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rasheed, a vision rooted in clarity, innovation, and a deep commitment to shaping a more stable and interconnected future. And to learn more about the author, visit www.tfrasheed.org. If this video gave you insight or inspired your thinking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more discussions like this. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay curious, and see you in the next video.